Wrestling Rumors fans, welcome to Wrestling Rumors warm-up. We apologize for the little bit of delay. We had some technical difficulties. I'm sure you noticed my goofy mug on the picture on the article, but happy we're live. I'm joined by one of our contributors, Adam Daly. Adam?
Brother, what's going on? How you doing? Let me turn a little volume up right here so I can get turn my headphones up.
I'm great. A little bit emotional tonight. The Flyers are honoring Ed Snider tonight in Philadelphia, so kind of keep my eye on that, as well as trying to keep my eyes off the spoilers for Raw tonight, which I did not want to see at all.
I haven't seen any spoilers because, ironically, I went to talk wrestling today and ended up defending Harley Quinn for about an hour on Twitter. So I've done good with staying away from any spoilers across the pond. So if anybody out there knows anything, don't tweet anything at us yet, please. And if we're a little wrong about something, cut us some slack. But Matt, let me ask this before we talk about anything Raw tonight. I got to get your opinion, brother. Bray's injury, man. It's something we've he just kind of came back from an injury. Now he's injured again, maybe potentially long term. What do you think, dude?
I mean, just yet another injury, and this one is not as preventable as the last one. I was in Raw in Philadelphia when Luke Harper tore his ACL, and a match like that, a dark match after 3.5 hours of wrestling, in my opinion, is completely ridiculous. It's a squash match. But you can't prevent this. I'm not sure how long he's going to be out, if he's out for any significant portion of time, and by that I mean like you can't make payback. It's a pretty big deal because I think the WWE realizes that now that he was kind of cut down by The Rock, had a rough end of his year, he needs to be rebuilt again. He's on this kind of new face run. It's kind of a weird like heel face cross. I'm not sure, but I definitely hope he's not out for too long.
Don't you feel it's a shame too, because we just finally started getting we had two moments I feel like in the past couple of weeks with Bray. Like one was when all he did was touch the WWE Championship. You know, everybody pops. We kind of get a maybe face or gray area teasing. And even when he's staring down Roman Reigns, we still don't know what his agenda is. And then he gets hurt again. Like, I almost feel like it's just one of those bad luck things that almost a Daniel Bryan situation all over again, where like no matter what, it seems like as soon as Bray's ready to go again, there's another obstacle. There's just something else happens that's out of his control, you know?
Yeah, it's just really rough for the guy. I mean, I really feel from him from that perspective, and the fact that he's just been kind of put on the shelf. I mean, the guy's been on the main roster now for almost 3 years, and he's not at the point where I think he should be. He was kind of, you know, climbing the ladder. Then he faced John Cena, hit the John Cena wall. They had nothing for him that summer. He's never really won a significant feud. But yeah, it could just be one of those things like with Wade Barrett or Christian where like their injury bug, and Dolph Ziggler were kind of like their career stalled because of the injury bug. But I think it's definitely more of just creative and not having the conviction to be able to put a heel over and create a new heel. Because look, let's think about it. In 10 years, who are we going to pop like coming back? At this point, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, that's about it. There's no one like young guys are going to come out like, oh my gosh, you know, Roman Reigns is back and look, this could change. I'm really excited about the future of the business, but we have to talk about the fact that like there's no top heels that have been created recently. And I mean, it's a whole different subject, but Triple H had the championship, and me being a big Triple H guy, I was of course happy and going to the show, but like a heel should have been ready to be put in that position, and Bray Wyatt losing The Undertaker that match at Survivor Series made no sense to get the title. So I don't know, kind of frustrating in my eyes.
You know, and I think too, there's something that I pulled out of this was I was really thinking, you know, in a mindset that not an off season, because I know that gets talked about a lot. You know, could we prevent injuries with maybe an off season? Or I wouldn't do it that way, but I started thinking, well, maybe we could, you know, they could just start to write, you know, either men or women off for a month. You know, maybe it's a kayfabe injury, or maybe it's, you know, they just come out and cut promos for or whatever the case may be. But I think this shows that no matter, because Bray's been hurt, you know, was just coming back from injury. I don't know. In a way, I think this almost makes we need an off season invalid. Like, I'm in favor of like, you know, giving talent time off just so that the constant wear and tear, we don't have another Daniel Bryan situation, or we don't have. But I think this shows that injuries can happen literally at any time. So I don't even know if it's just the work rate anymore. I think I would still like to see them wrestle less for the overall wear and tear. I think that just builds up on a day-to-day basis. But the major injuries that we're all trying to avoid, and we're looking for ways to avoid them. I don't know, man. Do you think? I think injuries just happen. Is there any way do you think we could really? Sans a dark match after Raw. Don't get me wrong. I think that was a little excessive, but I don't know.
I mean, I'm not sure. I like the idea of maybe taking people off TV. And Jim Ross brought this up with Dolph Ziggler. He's like, look, I really think that Ziggler should take a little bit of time off just so his character can be refreshed. He's not on TV all the time. So people, when he comes back, are going to be excited about it. I think that with so much talent now, you either have to do a brand split or just keep people off TV. People are just not going to work. I mean, when's the last time we saw Jack Swagger in a main TV role besides for that little feud that, of course, he was going to be thrust into because of Zeb Coulter? We don't see him at all. So I think there is a little bit of value of giving certain talents a month or two off, and that way their batteries are recharged or not, busting their butts all the time. And of course, this is kind of the business. These people have been doing it for a long time. Triple H did this grind for a long time. Guys in the Shield have been doing it for 3 and 4 years, and Roman's been fine in terms of injuries. Same with Dean, but you never really know. It's kind of like, it's definitely like a sport where you could take one wrong bounce in the ring, like Luke Harper, step one spot the wrong way, your knee buckles, you're out for 6 to 9 months. So it's definitely preventable, but also injuries will happen.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's one of those where I don't know. I am getting concerned for the talent because I don't know. I can't remember seeing an injury report this deep. I mean, there's so many injuries right now. And I don't know, to your point about they never really established any really solid heels. I don't know, man. I want to ask this. Do you think that in a way, are we in an era where we won't ever really see a monster heel anymore? Like, in a way, Roman Reigns is the biggest heel we have just because he's anti-hardcore fan. But anytime they bring out a new good heel that maybe, casual fans would boo, like a Kevin Owens, we love him, because it goes to the anti-hero kind of situation, or we just like villains, two Joker guys right here is a case in point. I would take Joker over Batman any day. So plus he makes so much more sense than Batman. But I think it's one of those though. It's such a, I think this is why and I know that, let me get your opinion on this. I think that Roman Reigns is going to be champion until at least July of 2017. Yeah, I know everybody's mouth just dropped, but think about it. Right now, he's your biggest face and heel wrapped in one. He's your biggest face with kids. He's your biggest heel with adults. They're having their cake and eating it too, a la John Cena. Now, won the title at WrestleMania, hold it all the way till next July and August. You break a certain record that they want wiped off the books. And in the process, you probably find Roman Reigns becoming a face after all. CM Punk's title reign went from him being a face into a heel at the end. I kind of see Roman Reigns as, I see a long reign, at least until next WrestleMania, and I think it's going to start with Reigns being booed and end with him being cheered towards the end. And I can't believe I said that.
Wow, that's definitely a lot to say, a lot to take in. I think in terms of top heels, it's up to them. It really is. I mean, I think that we need to kind of reevaluate the main event, and if you make more guys competitive where it feels like they can go take that title, it makes it that much more exciting. You have a lot of guys around the main event the next couple of years: Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, The Shield, Bray Wyatt potentially, Finn Balor, a lot of really talented people, AJ Styles, and obviously your John Cena's, Randy Orton's of the world, and Triple H here and there, maybe not in the title picture, but there's a lot of names, and they need to kind of be brought up. It's why in the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression, which I was brought up in Ruthless Aggression, the brand split era, and there were so many people that were contending for the title, and it was fun because you could tell those people deserved it, and you never really knew who was going to get the next title shot. Now, I mean, yeah, they could put people in there, but a lot of people feel like, I think you do, that Roman Reigns is going to hold the title for a long time. I think he'll lose it this year. I think that the point about CM Punk is definitely very valid. I think they want to break that as soon as possible. I think that Rollins could have. I know the company's behind Reigns, but they can't keep him in the same weird middle-of-the-road guy for this long a time without having people just turn it off, because there's a lot of people that just dislike him very much. And there's people that deserve the title. There's going to be a Money in the Bank title holder, maybe Cesaro, maybe Bray Wyatt or Kevin Owens, someone like that they will very much get hurt by losing this Money in the Bank and not successfully cashing in. I know that it's kind of become, they're definitely going to cash in and be champion, but I think this year they really need to kind of give it to a guy that can be taken that next level, like Cesaro. I think he might hold to as short as SummerSlam. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Ambrose won at SummerSlam, or I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't be shocked if Styles won a payback. I don't think it's going to happen because I think they want to give Reigns his title reign. But hey, I mean, AJ Styles is 38 years old. We'll definitely talk about this a lot more the next few weeks, but we'll have to see when it comes to Reigns. I think Rollins will win the title within the next year again, though, to kind of keep them going back and forth. I just don't want to see Reigns be like a 5-time champion in 2 years. I would rather him have the title for like till WrestleMania and then not have the title for a little bit than be a 5-time champion. Because I personally believe that the longer the title reign, the more significant. And if you have, 3 title reigns in 2 months, it means absolutely nothing. And I get some of that was because of booking and because of the fact that Seth Rollins got injured. But he didn't really need to win the title at Survivor Series at all. No one was going to feel bad for him because nobody really liked him. He could have just been a 2-time champion. I guess it's really not that big of a deal, but 3 versus 2 feels like a lot for me at least.
And you know what, I think because I grew up in what they call the golden age, and in the 80s when, Hogan had the title for 4 years, or somewhere around there. So we always complain about like longer periods, or like even when Cena would have it for 10 months, 11 months. I think that it's, like you said, I think longer reigns do make title changes more important. I guess my only disappointment with Punk's reign was that he dropped the title to The Rock, because it was kind of like a meaningless drop. If he would have dropped it to Cena, I felt like it would have meant a lot more. Now, and the only reason why I think that I'd be okay with a long Roman Reigns thing, especially if they already have him penciled in the main event of the next couple WrestleManias, all the way till WrestleMania 34, like has been rumored. But I don't know. I think that we have so much going on underneath the title picture that this is the year that they could sneak away with leaving the title on Reigns. And you have so many good feuds that don't need a title right now, like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And then after the fact, if Kevin Owens or Bray Wyatt get Money in the Bank, or even an AJ Styles or Cesaro, to your point, I mean, there's so many names we could toss out there. If Reigns is still getting all these boos, just like Jericho calling in the radio shows because everybody says people are getting buried, what better way to put extra heat on him than have somebody try and cash in? And Superman punches, whoever cashes in or is trying to cash in. I thought Sheamus was not gonna succeed, so I was kind of flip-flop that way. I don't know. I'm so torn that I want the IC title like solidified, and I guess the tag team division solidified. I in a way don't care about the main title. Maybe that's not a good thing, but I'm almost kind of back at like my kid days where it's like, okay, once the main event gets here, that's fine. It's Roman Reigns versus whoever, fine. That's what they want. But all of my matches are like everything beforehand. It's like I can always turn off the main event if I want to.
But yeah, because it's become so insignificant with the same kind of tag matches every single week. To your point about The Rock and CM Punk, I mean, I would much rather prefer The Rock to beat CM Punk than John Cena. The Rock wasn't back for a long time. I do get CM Punk's point that, look, he's a part-time guy. I'm going to drop it to The Rock. He didn't want to do it. If you listen to the Cole Cabana podcast, he had no interest whatsoever in doing that. But I don't hate it. I just wish that CM Punk was in that main event. I think he would have been happy because he never got the main event paycheck or the spotlight when he deserved it. But that's a different topic for a different day. I do agree with you, though. There is a lot going on in the undercard that is really exciting. I mean, I'm going to bring it up already. Like, I'm in love with Enzo and Cass. I watch their clips like from Raw 5 times each week. I piss my pants every time they come out and Enzo says anything because it's hilarious. They're slowly becoming one of the most exciting parts of TV. I think everybody can agree with that. And AJ Styles, obviously, I mean, we'll have to see when it comes to Roman Reigns. But let's get in the 5-point preview.
Yes. Let's do that. What do you have first up here, big guy?
All right. So Shane McMahon is back this week. WWE paid for his flight to London, so he is back in control of Raw. I want to know what you think happens this week from Shane and how long Shane stays. Do you think this is kind of an interim thing, only a few more weeks? Or do you think this is more of a long-term thing? The company realizes, hey, this guy is a moneymaker. He's an increase in viewers, and we should keep him on.
I think it's a build to SummerSlam. I really do. I think this is a build for a SummerSlam program and a SummerSlam payoff. I think that, like we talked about last week, I'm not saying, guys, and I know everybody was thinking that I was like, yeah, Undertaker won, cool, but yeah, Shane's still like it. No, I get why everyone's frustrated, guys. I do, because it doesn't seem like it makes sense either. But let's face it, Raw has been better. And granted, it doesn't matter who's pulling the strings, but they're gonna label it as Shane, so we'll say that Shane's pulling the strings. But they're giving us something fresh, and I think that there's so much. I think they just keep giving us more fresh. I do, and I think eventually when Triple H does come back to television, we find out more of what's going on with Shane McMahon. I think long term, and I think the big question is, when does Triple H come back to TV?
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is definitely a SummerSlam thing. I think the company's foolish if they don't want to do it because, look, the McMahon drama and the TV and all the storylines and things like that, the conflict was the biggest story going into WrestleMania for the fans. And it instantly turned WrestleMania into, okay, we're going to see Reigns as champion. Who's Taker going to face? People were kind of forgetting about the show. It really changed the whole show. And I didn't give Shane enough credit in terms of the wrestler he was. Obviously, I knew he was a wrestler. I've seen so many clips. I've watched him on TV. I always thought that he was either going to have a representative or he was going to have a lot of help to win, because I didn't know how you could bring him back and justify that and then have Taker just win. And we talked about it on Wrestling With and last week on the show. I wasn't happy with how they did it. I'm happy that I got the ice cream. The analogy you made was awesome. I love that analogy. It's hilarious. I did get the ice cream, but I got the ice cream in a different flavor than I wanted. I got it like Dairy Queen. I wanted Baskin Robbins, something like that.
It was melted.
So,
it was half
melted. It was melted. There wasn't sprinkles on it. No toppings I liked. It was late, whatever. But still, I'm happy Shane has control, and I think this should be a SummerSlam program between Triple H and Shane, or maybe there's some swerve and Stephanie. Maybe not Stephanie turns on Triple H, but there's some sort of swerve. Maybe they have a representative, something like that, for control of the company, and then maybe we see a brand split after that. But I think building SummerSlam around that, and then maybe the Shield versus the Bullet Club would make SummerSlam way more must-see than WrestleMania for sure.
Do you think we see Linda at all during this program?
I hope we do. Why wouldn't we see Linda?
Have to, you would think, right? It's almost like WrestleMania 2000 all over again. I feel like we have to have some sort of Linda involvement.
So it definitely would be Linda and Shane versus Triple H, Vince, and Stephanie. And they can kind of go back and forth. Stephanie can be like, oh, Mom, you're really going to win this. You failed at 2 Senate bids, and really make fun of her for losing in Connecticut. That'd be hilarious.
If they brought that in, that would be so hysterical. And Vince would do it too. She'd be like, yeah, you made me tame my product down for a couple years just to lose. Damn it. And then
that would be perfect. And I mean, of course, they brought up Reed Flair this year, so I think they're willing to do anything, which, by the way, I thought was fine, but totally different topic. All right, so number 2 on the warm up or the preview was, which will the rivalries reach a boiling point? And WWE kind of keyed in on Chris Jericho versus Dean Ambrose and Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. So what do you think happens with these rivalries this week, and how long they last, and where do we see them go from here?
Definitely going in the payback. I think KO and Zayn go for a couple months, probably until Money in the Bank. Jericho and Ambrose, I'm not sure. It's going to depend on what Jericho's doing, probably doing with Fozzy. Who knows? Maybe he'll just keep burying all of us, hopefully. I think what they're doing is very smart, though, right now, because they're going to be in front of a London crowd. And when you look at these two, Dean Ambrose, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, these are 4 guys that internet fans, and specifically – your international fans, and I'm going to give the UK a lot of credit as I'm representing some UK wrestling right here, the waviest man in professional wrestling. I think that it's a very smart crowd to really ignite these. They've teased these feuds, but I feel like tonight or today they already have, or whatever's going on, that they really lit the ignition, underneath these, and they're going to go full throttle. I see KO Zayn going at least 2 or 3 months. Jericho and Ambrose, it really depends on what Fozzy's schedule is, I guess. I don't know. What do you think?
I think Zayn and Owens go all the way through Money in the Bank. I think they have a nice little tiffle. They're both in the match. Maybe one of them costs the other one the match, something like that. I think it definitely goes past Payback, Extreme Rules, maybe even through Battleground. I mean, these two have a personal story that a lot of people can relate to. It worked really well in NXT. I like to see them tell a little bit differently. And not to say, oh, we were friends. I mean, it was a great storyline. Don't get me wrong. I want to see it. But I don't want them to copy the same exact thing. Same thing with Sasha versus Charlotte once that's a one-on-one rivalry. I don't want to see the same kind of thing. In terms of Jericho and Ambrose, I think it also depends on what they do with the Shield versus the Bullet Club. I think that program is money. And I think that, we'll talk about it maybe a little bit later, but Ambrose could get involved maybe on either side, or, Roman could switch to either side. We'll see what happens with that. But this is definitely, it has to me, and I said this on your show, I think, last week, this feels like Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho, where it's a very significant rivalry, very personal. Jericho was money last week, and so was Ambrose. I'm just really enjoying this rivalry in general. This is supposed to be the plan for WrestleMania, so obviously the company has a lot of plans behind it. And I think Jericho 6 rounds till past SummerSlam. I think that WWE, he's probably like, oh, I have a tour, and WWE's like, okay, well, I'm going to show you this money. And he's like, well, the tour can wait. So I think he'll be around for a long time.
You know what? Jericho's a good example of a guy, too, that, when we talked earlier about just giving wrestlers time off, look at how, Jericho now is, in his 40s. That's still young in this industry, guys. Please don't think anybody out there, don't hate on me for that. But when you think about it, he's still going hard at his age. And that's, You don't really get that with a lot of these guys because of the constant wear and tear, So it's maybe there is a nice formula, Matt, behind, guys kind of coming around for 6 months, maybe disappearing for a little while, as long as they're not involved in the main title picture. I feel like if you're going to be involved in the WWE title picture, you would have to do. Now, let me ask this before we get into the next question. Do we feel like now that Owens, and I know we fall in the wins and losses a lot, do we feel like AJ losing to Jericho did more for him? It's, especially with Jericho's character now going in against Dean Ambrose, do we feel like maybe the payoff was better having Jericho win because it did more for not only Chris Jericho at WrestleMania, but it did more for AJ Styles at WrestleMania by losing to Chris Jericho? Because I think if Styles just wins, beats Jericho, now Jericho going into a feud with Ambrose, we all hear, well, he's jobbing everybody again. He's jobbing everybody again. But the surprise factor of AJ Styles not winning had the internet and everybody going nuts to the point where they were like, okay, we're giving him number one contender the next night.
Now that I kind of see the map, I don't just see the one destination. The fact that I went to the rest stop and it was horrible, wasn't what I expected. If I see where I'm going next, I think that it's a much better plan. I was upset at WrestleMania. Every single person that I rooted for, I was wearing lost. New Day, Sasha, AJ, they all lost. So didn't have the best days in terms of fate. It was an awesome time, don't get me wrong, but obviously it's going to happen. Anyway, I definitely think that Jericho needed that. He talked about this for a long time. I hate you, AJ Styles. You're ridiculous. AJ beat him a lot, and I think it was surprising. And it was a good enough match where Styles didn't look too bad. It was a back-and-forth match where if Styles would have caught that elbow, he would have won, and Jericho just got him to the last second. It's not like he kind of, I don't like to say this very much, but buried him or beat him in 2 seconds. It wasn't like that. And I think that for AJ Styles, it kind of fans are like, well, where do they go next? And then they put the surprise in the next night, having him win the number one contendership. So I think at the end of the day, it definitely benefited both guys very much, more than just AJ Styles winning. And this is why sometimes, as fans, our knee-jerk reactions, oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous. But then we actually look at it and then something else happens. We see the plan. We see what's going to happen next. We're like, okay, well, that makes a lot more sense than just looking at it hindsight. That night I walked out, I was like, why do they have Styles lose? Why did New Day lose? Why did Sasha lose? The next day I was like, wait a second. I know why now. It makes me think a little bit.
Yeah, everything starts to fall into place. And I think especially WrestleMania weekend, they know that they're going to be able to knee-jerk us around so much because we're so invested, because we forget now that WrestleMania weekend really ends at the end of Raw, not just, WrestleMania anymore.
Absolutely, yeah. And Raw was insane. It was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what Shane's going to do this week, because last week we had a great show, tons of great wrestling matches. Cesaro and Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn and AJ Styles. We had a very good Divas match. We had the debut or so of Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. And we're going to bring up Roman Reigns, but I want to bring that up really fast. So last week, guys, we saw Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows debut on WWE TV, came out, attacked the Usos. So, Adam, what do you think this means? Where do you think the storyline goes? And when do we see a potential Balor Club, Bullet Club reunion or reunition on TV?
I like that, because I like that everybody's pretty much reserved that it's definitely happened. I think that here's what I like about it. What I took from it is we had an AJ spot backstage where he wasn't really being the friendly bubblegum babyface that he typically was in a promo with Sami Zayn backstage. And then you go out and they have the Carl Anderson and Gallows spot where they debut. And then you have AJ Styles and Sami Zayn. So they're definitely keeping Gallows and Anderson close to AJ Styles for a reason. Now, it could be to keep the buzz going. It could be that they are going to form a Bullet Club style. I'm not putting it past it. They don't join Roman Reigns. And the new Shield 2.0 is Roman Reigns and Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. That's the new Shield. And it would make sense, guys. What's our big complaint been all along? He still has the Shield music, changes music. He still has this, change this. Well, technically he could lay claim to the Shield then. So it wouldn't even really be his music. People wouldn't like it. I get it. And I'm not saying I would like it either. I'm not, but I like that they're keeping Anderson and Gallows around Styles to keep us guessing. And it really seems like I think Payback is where we finally see at least something. I'm sure they're going to tease it. Tonight, I would tease the hell out of it. I would have AJ Styles running into them dudes backstage. I would have Reigns running into them backstage. I would have so many just to keep us guessing. But I think we see a payoff at Payback. What do you think, Matt?
That's interesting because I read an article on CSR today, and it was the rumor. I didn't know the rumor. I didn't know the rumor existed over the weekend, but the rumor is that Reigns could be the one joining up with Gallows and Anderson. I kind of have mixed feelings about it. Then what do you do with Styles? What do you do with Finn Balor? Does Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins join Styles? And then you get kind of like the Balor Club versus the Bulletproof Shield. It would be kind of weird, kind of like the red versus white NWO. I would much rather see kind of just the Bullet Club and the Shield reunite and go. But if they wrote it in a unique way, I would like it. I just see that as more of them kind of shoving Reigns in our face even more, kind of rubbing it in her face like, oh, you don't like Roman Reigns? Well, he's going to be in the Bull Club, not AJ Styles. You guys can go scratch. That's what it feels like to me versus just a good idea. Like I said a second ago, I like to see the map. We all obviously can't see the whole map before we go to the first stop, that analogy. But I think that AJ Styles might win the title, and I think AJ Styles might win the title at Payback because of Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. And I think they may form at Payback. Might be a little bit later than that. It might be a good idea to kind of have them just beat down a lot of people and not just the Usos, because when they beat down the Usos, that's kind of a direct signal that they're going after Roman Reigns. And then that's why the rumors of the swerve have happened, because they're we're going to go after Reigns, and then Reigns joins them because he doesn't like his brothers. Maybe they beat down Dean Ambrose this week just to screw us even more, and then, like you said, happens. What do you think about it?
I'm actually, I look at it one way. I have to look at it that obviously we all know about the Bullet Club, the Balor Club, different layers that way. But how many strictly WWE fans know that, So I think in a way, if you do put Reigns with Gallows and Anderson, the only ones you're really trolling are the ones that are booing Roman Reigns. So that's the reaction you're looking for from those fans. So I can't believe I'm going to be saying this. I would love it. I'm sorry. I would love it. I would love it just because it would infuriate the IWC. And I get it, guys. It's me too. I'm not saying that I would like Roman Reigns in this, but I'm saying that if I'm writing a story and I know that there's money in pissing people off, there's money in making people upset. Because if we always got what we wanted in wrestling, and I'm not saying this is, and I understand that sometimes you push people too much to the limit where they start to turn off too. But I don't think right now, ratings are down, but how can we say that ratings are down when we've had two spectacular Raws back to back, And ratings are down. Okay, so I get that. That's a fact, but that's not reflective of what's going on with the product right now. If people are throwing temper tantrums just because my person doesn't have the title or Roman Reigns has the title, like, guys, it's a prop, and I know I say this a lot. I'm not saying there isn't. Yes, you want to be a champion, but in professional wrestling, it's a written show. It is a prop. And typically, if you have that title, it just really means you're the face of the company. You're not there to please the fans. You're there to please the corporation. You're there to please the company. You're there to please shareholders. So if they can make a ton of money off Roman Reigns getting booed out of every arena, but he's still good when he crosses over into this media, that media, acting this medium, then they don't care. Plus, I look at it this way with Reigns. Another reason why I'm kind of starting to dig Reigns, and I hope that they would almost form a faction around him with him being the leader. I think that a lot of people don't think that Reigns has earned the title or this or that. And why I'm kind of digging what they're doing with Reigns being just the guy, not a good guy, not a bad guy, he's just the guy, is if you think about all the harassment this man has taken, and I'm not just talking about boos from fans. I'm talking people jumping barricades. I mean, they had to switch him from coming through the crowd, the racial slurs, the slurs towards his daughter, all this stuff that he's had to endure, that builds hell of a lot of character. And that's the kind of character that you want in a corporate boardroom versus somebody, and no disrespect towards anybody, but this is why, guys, CM Punk was never the man. He wouldn't fit in a corporate boardroom. If Roman Reigns is a yes man that's putting up with all this BS on the side, he's your champion. He is the figurehead for the company. But we don't have to like him to do that. That's why I think the only fans you're really like upsetting with putting him with the Bullet Club are the fans that knew of what went on in New Japan Pro. Half the people don't even know that AJ Styles was IWGP champion. So they surely don't know about the Bullet Club, Balor Club, anything like that. So I think it would be a good move on WWE's part. Sometimes heat wins. Controversy creates cash, man, all the time.
Absolutely. Adam, you brought up a lot of really great points. I think the fact that he is the corporate-looking champion, it just depends on the money. I mean, I heard a lot of rumors this weekend about how AJ Styles merchandise sales have been great. The New Day back here, they rock. They sold the most merchandise of anybody all WrestleMania weekend. So I really, really thought that Roman would be top 5 there. I don't know if he is or not. It really depends on the money, and we don't have access to that information, so we can't really make those decisions. I totally agree with the Punk thing. I feel bad that he wasn't that kind of corporate champion. They didn't kind of embrace him like that. I do think the title in a way is a prop, but it also puts the fact that the company's behind you. It gives them their faith that they're behind you as a champion, as a top guy. Yeah, it's predetermined. Yeah, it's a show. But being the champion in WWE holds a lot of weight. And we haven't, and that's another reason why I don't want to see these short title reigns. I want to see some long title reigns. And look, I just said that AJ Styles could beat Roman Reigns, which I don't want to contradict myself. There's obviously reasons for that. But I just want to see the title where it's at a certain point. And, I mean, Roman Reigns may be the guy. I don't hate him being a leader of a faction. I would rather, because to be honest, I haven't seen that much New Japan Pro Wrestling. Don't come through the screens at me. Like, I would love to watch it. I've seen a few matches. It's unbelievable. There's just so much wrestling, other things for me to watch. There's a lot of things to watch. Trust me. We all know this. But I just kind of want to see that play out on my screens. And I think the ultimate versus rivalry would be the Shield versus the Bullet Club. And I want to see Finn Balor as a heel with AJ Styles. And I think would be money. It'd be a great program for them all summer. I think if Reigns builds heat and continues to build cash, then I get it. But I don't think the cash is following Reigns at all. I think, and maybe in the house shows, of course. And look, there are, like you said, there are a lot of people that don't know who the Bullet Club is, don't know about, Balor and Styles' history beyond WWE because they're just casual WWE fans, which I get, which is why they have to kind of build up who are these guys. They can't just have them reunite on TV. Because a lot of people will be like, what is this? Like, what are they doing? Why are they doing this to their screens? Like, what is this? Like, they have to kind of build a story. And I would like to see them do that, but they can do that in 3 or 4 weeks. They build up AJ Styles to be one of the top faces of the company. And in about 2 months, he's definitely one of the top faces of the company for sure. So we'll have to see. And that was the third point. Reigns and his critics, will he be the guy? We kind of answered all those questions for you guys. So we're going to move on to number 4. Which is a very interesting rivalry that I like a lot. And I think that we talked about this last week, that I think that we should definitely see at least 2 women's segments every single week. And this might be that second segment, Emma and Becky. Emma and Becky had kind of a weird scuffle on SmackDown a few weeks ago. Actually, by the way, I was watching the Edge and Christian show, and they had her on. And the last thing they said when she went off the screen is they're like, oh, I heard she likes to steal things. And I almost died.
The Edge and Christian show, I don't talk about this enough. That might be the reason why I keep my WWE subscription. It really might be. But go on.
Oh, me too. You said this to me like a few weeks ago, and I love Edge. As a wrestler, love Christian too. And I watched first episode, I'm like, eh. And then yesterday I watched like 3 or 4. And they also did a really funny segment where they're like, will WWE talk about with AJ Styles? And they will WWE talk about the company AJ Styles wrestled for from 2002 to 2016. And they're like, nope.
They'll never do that. All the inside jokes. I will say that this last episode, I didn't need to see Beefcake's nipple rings still. I don't know why he still has those, but it was good to see Ed Leslie kind of cracking them guys up. If people have seen the episode and kind of get what's going on.
Yeah, I'm a little bit behind, but I really enjoy the show a lot. So props, Edge and Christian, great job. I heard they filmed a bunch of stuff over WrestleMania weekend. Looking forward to seeing that. But we're talking about Emma versus Becky, a rivalry. Adam, where do you think this goes? Do you like this rivalry? Do you think this means anything? Is it just kind of a personal scuffle back and forth, or does this lead one of them to a title shot eventually?
I think right now every women's match and every women's feud does mean something, and I think it's very important. And I like the fact that they're bringing Emma up as one of the first people to kind of work with Becky, because I think anybody that works with Becky, anybody that works with anybody who's in the triple threat at WrestleMania, they're looking at to progress within the division. And I do think that they have big plans for Emma later on down the line, along with Bayley after they call her up, and Becky and Sasha and Charlotte. So, and hopefully Paige. She's kind of getting lost in the shuffle, but hopefully Paige too. But I think this is showing signs that they absolutely, because Emma can go. She's not the total divas style girl, style woman. What do you think, Matt?
I didn't mean to say, does this mean anything in general? I meant, does this mean anything like for the title picture?
Oh no, yeah, I knew that. No,
Yeah.
I just meant that like it's good to see finally that we're think. Well, in a way, it's just because we're talking about a feud that isn't even the main women's feud, which is awesome. So
Yeah, it is right, and it's not "You Stole My Boyfriend" Summer Rae and Lana special where they're going back and forth about. And look, I think Rusev and Lana are hilarious, but that completely fell on its face, and I don't want to see stuff like that. I want to see a real personal rivalry, and I think that Becky and Emma have a potential to have this kind of a rivalry together. I mean, Emma and her new character, I couldn't say enough about. I mean, I completely went from not being like, look, I can't stand that gimmick, because when I came back to wrestling, she was doing some of this, and I was like, well, is she slow or what is? I didn't know what she was doing. It was weird, and obviously I love Becky Lynch, and I think your point about them putting somebody with the people that were in the triple threat and kind of elevating them is a really good point. I would, in that case, I would love to see Sasha Banks versus Paige, or Sasha Banks versus somebody else to kind of put them up, because Sasha and Charlotte and Becky are on a whole new level in the division. And I'm also very happy that Natalya is back in the main title scene. I think maybe they kept her out of that for a little bit because the Divas title really wasn't her. She's not a diva. She's a women's wrestler. So maybe that was their plan all along, but props to them for putting Natty back in the main title scene, because we can see she can definitely do it. She deserves to be in that spot.
Yep. And I do like, and again, I like that they're not afraid. A big thing for me is that they're showing that Emma's repackaged too. Typically we didn't see that too much with women. I mean, it was if they either sank or swam, and we didn't really get much after that. I like that they're showing a repackaging where she got sent back down to NXT, came back up. She's a completely different person, because it shows that they're just not giving up on female talent anymore. They know when they have someone of value, and they're interested in their investment. And that, to me, again, I think that speaks volumes.
Absolutely. And I agree. And I'm happy that we see that women's wrestling has really increased. I mean, I couldn't be happier with not just that, but with a lot of the directions of the company. And the funny thing is, like, they don't have to put a new on-screen character to do this. They could have done this a long time ago by just doing it. And we're now like singing praises of the product, which we could have been doing for a long time. Not that all this year was bad. I don't think it was at all. A lot of people complained about Rollins as champion. I did not. It was just how they booked him. But it's kind of weird to think about, because a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, it's Shane McMahon, but not really. It's the people backstage. And look, maybe this was their plan all along, to kind of go in a different direction after WrestleMania 32, but I'm loving it so far. And our final 5-point preview topic is who will advance in the tag team tournament. So Adam, who do you think wins tonight, and who do you think wins the match, and what happens in the finals between the New Day and that team?
All right, so we got Dudley's and Enzo and Big Cass, correct?
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna go to Dudley Boys on this one. I kind of want to do a double disqualification or a double count out or something, but I'm gonna go with the Dudleys. The top bracket is what, the Vaudevillains, and who's left?
The Usos, but the Usos were beaten down by a certain
Anderson and Gallows.
team, so maybe they're involved in the tournament. I don't know.
That's the big so that's the big question mark. If they somehow get entered into the tournament, obviously those are the two that I'm running with. I'm going to run with them throughout the entire tournament. And no, it's not. I'll put on my Shred Edge Society mask if you want, and then I could just sing the praises of Luke Gallows. But no, I think that I'm going to roll with them two guys if they are put into the tournament. If not, I'd like to just see them in a way kind of wreak havoc over every match here on out. I mean, they kind of took out the Usos. Have them take out somebody tonight. Have them take out somebody on SmackDown again. Have them keep taking out tag teams, so that you almost have to put them in a title picture. It has nothing to do with the tournament whatsoever.
Yeah, those are some bold predictions. I definitely think Enzo and Cass win. And I'm biased. I'm a big how you doing guy. But I don't think that you can have them lose clean. Even if it's by DQ, I think that what happens is they win, and then the Dudleys might screw them over in the next match, making a feud between those two for a pay-per-view or two to kind of establish Enzo and Cass, and then put them in the title picture. If it's the Vaudevillains and the Usos, I think the Vaudevillains win. I don't think there's any reason for the Usos to be put in that position unless they're going to turn them heel. And then I think the Vaudevillains win the tournament. If it's Anderson and Gallows, I mean, I agree I would run with them to win, but it's kind of a weird fit between them and the New Day. Like, they're very serious about business. The New Day are kind of like, oh, let's dance and sing. And, it's kind of a weird fit in my eyes. And I don't think they need the tag team titles to be significant. Hold around the coin belts. I think that they can just wreak havoc, and that means more for them. And it means more for a team like the Vaudevillains to be put in that opportunity to even lose to the New Day, which, I mean, there's no reason why they should lose the titles right now. So I think it means more for them, and they can just still get pushed to the top without the titles.
And I do like that we finally have a tag team, though, that look, I mean, when they debuted last week, let's say that's the first time we've seen a tag team come onto the scene and really just level people, where it was like, whoa, these dudes not only look like they mean business, they act like they mean business. You know, I mean, it's we haven't had that like intimidating tag team. It didn't work out for the Ascension, and that's nothing against them guys. And we won't be seeing Connor for a while. Which I don't know how Jack Swagger's still there. Call me Jake. No, no, but I think it's one of those where I like that we finally have that intimidating, no nonsense tag team though. Like we needed that in the tag team division, because it was becoming too, I don't want to say too cartoonish, but New Day being so over the top and now being faces, we need those badass heels, you know?
Yeah, look, I agree. Just kind of I just can't picture them in the ring with the New Day after last week. Maybe my mind will be changed, and I'd be okay with it, of course. But then what do you do? Do they win the tag team titles? Like, are you going to have them lose the New Day? And then are you also going to have the New Day drop the titles? And then what do they do? So I'm not really sure what the plan is, but we'll have to see. I think if the Vaudevillains are in, I think they go to the finals, lose the New Day. If Anderson and Gallows are in, I think they win the titles. I would love to see Enzo and Cass win. I mean, I don't want to contradict myself. I think the New Day, I mean, it's pretty obvious they've sold a lot of merchandise. I don't think they need the tag team titles. It's a huge part of their gimmick with we are the WWE World Tag Team Champions, that whole thing. But they don't really need it. That being said, I think that their reign should continue for a little bit longer. As a fan, I would probably root for Enzo and Cash because I like them a little bit better. I love the New Day. Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of their merchandise. I have a box of videos behind me. But we'll see what happens.
Isn't it great though that we finally have we really have multiple tag teams that we can pull for? You know, for the longest time, when I grew up, the tag team division was spectacular. We had the Rockers, Demolition, we had the Hart Foundation, we had, I mean, you know what I mean? You talk about, we had the Freebirds, there was tag teams for days. It was awesome. Even the Twin Towers, with Slickster and all that kind of stuff. So, but I like that there's more than just New Day now. You know, I like that there's more than just Kid and Cesaro now. I like that we have, Enzo and Big Cass, Anderson and Gallows. We have people that are Vaudevillains fans. We have people that are New Day fans. And so what happens when you put two fan favorites, Enzo and Big Cass up against New Day, or, I like that now we finally have, just like the women's division, they finally built up the tag team division to what it should be, so that we're getting a couple tag team matches a week. I don't know. I think I think we're seeing change happen right in front of our eyes, guys. I really do. I think they've listened. I think it's just a growing. We all expect change to happen overnight, and it's never going to happen overnight, guys. But I really do think that change is happening right in front of us if we kind of stop and take a look around. But this is another division that like you said, I could roll with anybody with this, and it's entertaining. That's all that matters.
No, yeah, absolutely. I'm happy that we don't just see the Usos or Golden Truth or Goldust and Star. I got so tired of seeing the same kind of teams over and over again. I think Usos are good wrestlers, but I just don't really enjoy their gimmick too much. They're just not my personal favorite. And for a long time, we did see kind of one team, and it was almost a joke for a long time, a really big joke. And now, like you said, there's so many people. People are New Day fans, Enzo and Cass fans of the Vaudevillains. Then people will be fans of Anderson and Gallows maybe. And then eventually, we have American Alpha come up and Blake and Murphy, and now you're creating a very competitive division. And I agree, we're seeing the change in the tag team division and the women's division right now in WWE. And hopefully we get to see the expansion of the main event, which I think was started with having Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, Cesaro, and Kevin Owens in that that number one contenders match. We didn't see Randy Orton, we didn't see John Cena, and of course they're injured. But I think it's a big deal that they put them in that match, because it's communicating to me that they want those guys to rise up to the top. And I think the AJ Styles and obviously Styles is already there at this point at that level. And then Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn will get to that level once, their feud is over, which will be in a few months.
And can you imagine this division if the Young Bucks signed? And obviously, but if the Young Bucks signed with, NXT, WWE, however you want to brand it, imagine that division. Just, oh my God, they were right now, I'm salivating over the ideas that they could use, like the Young Bucks now with, Anderson and Gallows, with who they already have. Much different than even a year and a half ago. I do think if you go back to Survivor Series, let's just say for whatever, before WrestleMania, Survivor Series 2014. Go from there till now and look how different the product is. You know, it's like night and day. It really is. It's a complete night and day.
Agreed. And I said this in the fall. I said, look, look at what we saw in 2013. I know everybody loved Daniel Bryan, but from top to bottom, this product is way better than it was 2 or 3 years ago, and that's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing. And with the Young Bucks, it was kind of funny. I was on ProWrestlingTees.com because you told me to check out that Joker CM Punk shirt. It's awesome. I'm going to buy it soon, guys. Check it out. And I saw the Young Bucks T-shirt on the horse, kind of like the New Day. They've been trolling him for a while on Twitter. It's pretty funny, but that would be a huge signing for WWE. I mean, they just keep getting all the best international talent, which is hilarious. And it's I think it's a lot of Triple H, and it's Vince saying, look, you can go out there and spend the money. We know NXT's successful. It's just going to kind of create more talent for the future, which makes a lot of sense. But I want to end on really fast on one thing. TNA. TNA is basically closing their doors. Not quite yet, but they're moving their offices from their main corporate headquarters to a warehouse or TV productions in a different office. So some investors don't want to spend any more money. So what do you think happens to TNA? Do you care?
I do care, only because, and I know a lot of people are going to laugh about that, but we never want to see any wrestling promotion fold. There's a hell of a lot of talent in TNA. I love Drew Galloway. I'm a huge Galloway fan. I've always been. People knock me for it, but it is what it is. I've always liked Drew Galloway. I'm a Hardy's fan. EC3 is awesome. I mean, there's really good talent right now in TNA. It's just we've been playing this game for so long, this cat and mouse game of why doesn't TNA work? So in a way, like, how do I feel about it? I guess indifferent. Indifferent but sad, because I wish nothing but the best for every man and woman that's in TNA, because wrestling is wrestling. I just wish that maybe they could figure out what could catch on. I don't know, because the talent's there. Maybe it's writing. Maybe they need to scrap that ring and finally just go with a traditional squared circle, please. Matt, what do you think is the problem with TNA? Or do you?
I think, poor writing, not being able to secure their homegrown talent, kind of trying to be a mini WWE versus kind of differentiating themselves. And I was a guy that when they were talking about bringing back the 6-sided ring, I was like, they should do it because it's going to differentiate that from WWE. Because you have Ring of Honor, that's a different kind of promotion. Now NXT is kind of a little bit like that, not the same. You have New Japan Pro Wrestling. You have Global Force Wrestling that's kind of just started up. Maybe it's not that solidified yet, but all these promotions are different. They bring a different thing to the table. And TNA just has continued, and not maybe now, but 4 or 5 years ago, just trying to be WWE and trying to bring in all the WWE retread. So basically, once they discard talent, TNA takes it and they just repackage it. There was Sting, there was Hogan, there was Flair, there was Bischoff, Lashley, the Hardy Boys, everybody under the sun. I'm indifferent about it. I don't really care about too much talent in TNA. I think Drew Galloway is very good. I was a big Lashley guy when I was younger. I'm not a fan of Matt Hardy. Jeff Hardy is still exciting to me. Kurt Angle's done there, and that's about it. Ethan Carter III, I heard is very good. I don't really watch too much TNA. I think WWE's gotten a lot of their big time talent recently. Obviously, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Austin Aries, Bobby Roode. They just keep stealing from them, and at this point, there's no point in them having any sort of promotion. I said they closed maybe a year and a half ago. I'm surprised they're not closed already. I think at this point they will be closed within the year, because why would you invest in their company? What's the point? You're not going to get anything out of it. And there's no plan, there's no growth. They don't pay their production staff. They just, when AJ Styles talked about TNA recently in an interview, he kind of was like, I cried a lot when I left New Japan Pro Wrestling, but I didn't cry at all when I left TNA. And there's obviously, he wasn't there for a long time. There has to be something behind that. They obviously didn't treat their talent the right way.
And it makes you wonder too, are the inmates running the asylum, or is the, who's really calling the shots around there? And I think maybe ultimately that could be a problem, because it got to, and I just think of one spot last year where MVP was caught in a promo. Listen, I'm all about creativity, but you have to know where you're at. I know you're trying to be edgier, but you can't drop an N-bomb on TV. Or at least it just didn't seem fitting. It seemed forced, and like everyone around him was kind of like, okay, that didn't even seem like we wanted to do that, but cool. I think like Low-Ki was with him and or whatever. But I just wish there was better direction maybe in TNA, or at the end of the day, I just hope every man and woman that has a job in TNA can find work elsewhere and elevate their careers. If TNA is the albatross that's holding them back, I wish that they will go talent, get somewhere else and become a star, or do a complete overhaul of TNA. Bring in new creative minds. Bring in people that know how to write. Bring in people that know how to market. Bring in people, and then maybe we could talk about TNA among like the top 3 again.
Yeah, I think that you have a point for sure. I think that they don't have enough money to do that at this point. And I think
do you think it's almost there's no bringing them back? They're past the point of no return.
I think they're losing a lot of money. I've heard a lot of rumors about them not paying people for a very long time. So if they can't do that now, they can't bring in new people. And they tried to bring in Russo, Bischoff, everybody under the sun. It really just hasn't worked. And I don't want to see anybody lose a job. And that's not what I'm saying. I just think the promotion itself is such a bad name. And Jim Ross even said this, look, they need to change their name or completely rebrand their everything. And I think they could do that without spending too much money. But at this point, I almost feel like it's better for them to close their doors. And a lot of the guys will get independent contracts. There's Ring of Honor. There's New Japan. There's other independent promotions around where they can just make money and do a bunch of different appearances. There's always plenty of specialty shows. A few might end up in WWE, maybe Drew Galloway again, maybe Lashley again. Maybe NXT would have a field day with all the people they could sign. I don't see Matt Hardy unless it's with Jeff, but we'll have to see. And we're gonna
go ahead.
Go ahead.
See, my only other thought was maybe like global, like how they tried to run that angle last year, have Global Force take them over, and then just have Jarrett run the company again. But then if we're doing that, it's just TNA from before, you know. So in a way, I don't even think those two companies can help each other out because Jeff Jarrett and TNA together didn't have a good name. And Dixie Carter and TNA together don't have a good name, and them two together didn't have a good name. So they're kind of in a limbo state.
I think TNA closed its doors, personally. And I do want to get one more prediction from you before we close. We're coming pretty close on a Raw, about 2 minutes left in Eastern Standard Time Zone. So do you think this show will be better or worse than the last 2 weeks?
Tonight, they always give London they try to give London a really good show. I think it's on par with the past couple weeks. I can't see a dip down. I think that English or the London crowd will definitely let them know if it's a poor show. And yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be on par with the last couple. What about you?
I couldn't agree more. Definitely on par. I mean, I don't think we see maybe a return this week or something else like that because it is taped, so we can all look up the spoilers right now and not even watch the show. I choose not to do that. I want to see the show. I kind of need Monday Night Raw, of course. Big wrestling fan. But yeah, I think it'd definitely be on par. Adam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, brother.
On Twitter.
At Adam Daly 13. Follow my wife at Lady Nexus 13. I know that's who you really want to follow. Follow our show at Wrestling With.
By the way, I was on Wrestling With last week with Adam. It's an awesome show. I had the time of my life. Hilarious comedy show. Obviously, for people over 18, keep it pretty clean on here, but on there, it'd be very funny. We did a really funny skit last week. You know, this isn't happening. Told some really funny wrestling stories from being at events, and it's awesome. Definitely check that out. And as always, I'm the host of Wrestling Rumors Podcast. We'll be back this week with a new episode at the latest Wednesday night, maybe recording tomorrow night. I'll let you guys know, and hope everybody enjoys Raw. Thanks for joining us.